Welcome to a new market update after a very volatile weekend in which Bitcoin has been crashing down with more than 30%. Right now we're just consolidating around 48k, but what we're seeing is that altcoins, despite Ethereum, are showing weakness after all, in which we are getting into a phase of uncertainty, and therefore we are also getting into a phase where negative news is getting the spotlight, as we've seen with Tether once again. We're going to dive into the charts with Bitcoin, as later today we are going to have and do a live stream in which we'll be discussing the markets, your questions, my view. We're going to discuss a few altcoins as well. So if you want to have some answers, definitely tune in at 5:30 Central European Time tonight, in which we're going to do the live stream and talk about everything that is important here. Before we're going to continue, do not forget to subscribe beneath and also check out the giveaway that is on Twitter. Day 6. Yes, day 6 is today of 24 days. We've given away an iPhone, Ether, Bitcoin, and also wallets. So definitely check out that in the description beneath. Finally, do not forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I've started to post more on Instagram too, and I will do that in the coming period as well. So when we are discussing the markets, and I'm just checking, we see a slight bounce happening. But when we are seeing the markets, we have had a very heavy crash from Friday to Saturday. I think I've discussed it on this YouTube channel earlier, in which we took out the support. We've had large gaps in between the price levels, and due to the fact that there's so much leverage in the markets, and it was also a weekend time, it crashed through the level, and now we're sustaining above the crucial support. So now it's like a little bit of confusion. Are we going to get a V-shaped recovery? Are we going to consolidate here for a while before we're going to get a new run? All questions that we are having. But what we're also seeing is that altcoins are dropping down. Most of them. They are still finding itself a hard time at this point. The sentiment has been switched towards ultra negative as well. The fact that those altcoins are dropping is because of uncertainty. Altcoins do well when when the market is calm, when Bitcoin is grinding up. That is just not the fact right now, and therefore people are selling their altcoins as they read on social media that the markets are going to drop even further, and because of that fact they anticipate on a further crash to be happening, and that's why they sell their altcoins towards Bitcoin or USDT, and that's how the markets work. So at some point, if there is a slight bounce, and if we get a sideways range of Bitcoin, which we have had in May as well, probably people will become bearish at support and bullish at resistance inside that range. So it could be a phase where we're going to flip-flop a lot. But such a phase is actually a great period to start trading a lot if you're a day trader and accumulate your bags. But it's also interesting to know that if you want to build your swing trade positions, this, as a matter of fact, is actually the period where you want to buy those. And I said earlier, December is the period where you want to buy your altcoins. And I still stand by that actual view. But what should you be looking at when it comes to Bitcoin? We're going to dive into higher time frames and lower time frames in this update. So let's head towards the charts. So when we're discussing charts, we can also discuss this fear and greed index, right? When it's here, you want to sell. When it's here, you want to buy. Nothing in between. Right now it's back on 16, which, as I recall it correctly, the last time we've seen this number was at the crash during May, June and July. And we know what happened after and how fast the market has recovered from that. So the fear is extremely the same as in that period. Therefore, if you think about expected values and risk-reward ratios, you would not be looking for shorts. You would be looking or to dive into long entries and to try to search for those. As we've just witnessed a heavy crash. Some altcoins are even down 80% from their all-time high. Bitcoin is down approximately like 35-40% from the all-time high still, 30-35. which means that there is the chances are on longs instead of shorts at this point. Great index, right now it's on 16, and it shows the fact that we are still having a lot of panic and anxiety right now in the markets. So what we are seeing here is that I've made this scenario previously in which I was looking for a correction to be taking place. Well, we've had this correction at 60k, we rejected there and started to nosedive all the way towards 48k as we took out this low. The crucial area that we are looking for to sustain above is actually what we're currently sustaining above, which is this entire green zone. Next to that, we are seeing the fact that we've had this range before, and right now we're at the bottom of this entire range again. So it's very likely that we're going to chop around here for a little while between 46 to 53 and to bounce a little to get ourselves into a bottoming structure before we're going to break out in 2022 again. So this bottom side of the range is actually from a higher time frame perspective where I would like to go long heavily. If we are in green zone, I would like to go long heavily. When we get into the 53k range or maybe even 55, somewhere in that region, I think I'm going to de-risk and to look for a new conclusion or to look for a new entry if I'm day trading. But these ranges are for investment grade, are for swing trading grade, are for day trading grade. But if you look at social media, you think like that the market is dying, and that's why you start to feel like you shouldn't be getting into any trade at all. Based from risk reward ratios, I think this is actually the area where you should be looking at when it comes to the higher time frames. When we're looking at the lower time frames, and that's why I try to click on a button but it's not working. When we look at the lower time frames, it looks a little bit confusing, right? So I've made this scenario in which I wanted it to break above 57.5, which we didn't, and we made this lower low. So now we are looking at lower time frames. We can start making a few very important levels to watch. We already know this level at 56, right? That is an important one that we should be looking at. Also, when we saw this crash happening, we had a support at 53.8, which immediately rejected, and then we started to nosedive further. So that's another one. And then the final one is the one that we have here at 52.8, and we might want, and that's why I'm making this one orange, we might want to mark this one because it's the recent low, so we might be rejecting there too. If we look at price action in itself, are we seeing anything special? Well, yeah, 51.3 could be an important one, and 52.7 is this level here. So these are potentially our resistance points. What are points to look at for support? Well, we've got one here, which we are bouncing from once again, which is 47.9. We have to crack this 49.4 level, but 47.9 is important. And I think the entire range low, just like we have been acting here and here, the entire range low is at 46.5, which is also the low that we have here. And that's the low from the entire range that I've been making earlier and which we are currently acting. So what can we base out of this? Well, if we are losing this level and create ourselves a bullish divergence in this region, right, we are most likely going to test anywhere in this higher area. If we are going to crack this resistance and continue grinding in the coming days towards here, I might want to start taking profits after my longs have been hit in this range, as I assume that either we're going to have a retest taking place on lower levels and have a longer sideways period, or when we break up, I'm going to look for a retest taking place. But at this point, those are the levels that you should be looking at, and as you can see, Bitcoin is actually bouncing back up the moment that Europe is opening, which is great to see. Are we in a bear market or are we in a bull market? I still believe that we are in a bull market because the critical level has held for support. It looks tricky and the corrections are heavy, but I still think that we are into a super cycle, which is going to be a longer cycle than the previous one, and that's why we continue. And that's why I think, and that's why I am doing it myself, I'm buying heavily. I hope you have enjoyed this small update. I'll be back later today, so don't forget to subscribe as I'll be live at 5:30 Central European Time with my live stream. And also do not forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I wish you a wonderful day.